Change. It's such a scary word for many, and for many it shows hope. It's a really peculiar word, and you can never expect change. Change is always moving. There's always change coming, and nobody can accurately expect or predict what change will befall on you. But nobody understands this better than the Changeling. Now, the Changeling is he's Warhammer's trickster. So he's the one that goes around playing pranks on all the other gods and all the legendary lords that we know and love in the game. So he's the master of trickery, and nothing. I think his campaign really personifies how he is as a character. I was really excited for the Changeling to come out, and just seeing how CA would make his campaign makes sense for the Changeling. So he's the man of many faces, the spirit prankster, and the internal jokester. He just, he's always looking for a laugh to play or just change, always going on. But that doesn't mean that he's soft. He is really powerful. And today, my fellow Strat fans, I will show you all about the Changeling. I will show you detailed campaign mechanic, his new units, and how best he is on the battlefield. I've already earlier this week showed you some tactics for him, so today we're going to dive into the Changeling. Alright, and here we are with the Changeling screen. I love his menu screen. It just shows how many different forms he can take. So the Changeling actually has very little faction effects, well, very little lord effects, and very little faction effects too, but they are pretty powerful. He's immune to diplomatic penalties from trespassing, which means he can be anywhere at any time. And he establishes trickster cults instead of occupying territory. So this makes him like a pseudo-horde, where he gets like benefits. He can siphon money and get other things from trickster cults that he establishes in towns. And he can replenish and recruit in foreign territory, which is insane, which means he pretty much can always be on the move. And his armies are hidden in regions with trickster cult buildings. So if you stay in a region that has trickster cults, that you've established a cult underneath the enemy city, they won't be able to see your army approaching. And then his lord effects is he can shapeshift and battle into other legendary lords, like you see on the screen here. So he starts in the heart of the Empire for Immortal Empires. That's the campaign I'm going to show you today. He's really insane. But he doesn't do that many bonuses to his units. So for his battles, we won't be doing the other Lord videos. We won't be using them on the campaign map. We'll be staging the battles because he doesn't really buff up his troops as much as himself. So I just want to show you for the compositions. We're going to do just the regular normal way as we did in the race guides. So let's get into the campaign, shall we?
Where to go
and who to be. Oh, behave. The Changeling. So his path to victory is a lot different than normal, and I'll get into this. Like, he does a whole bunch of schemes because he's the master schemer. All right, so we start with a mission to just start a trickster cult and all that. So we'll get into all that. So here's the Changeling. So he's got this neat little button here called Formless Horror. And right here, like a kid in a candy store, you can just pick whatever legendary lord you want, and you'll get their abilities. But you will not get their treasures. So, like I said in the tactics video, you gotta like make sure that you pick a Rise Lord. Like you can get Bellicor, but you won't get his sword. You'll get all of his other stuff, like Blade of Shadow. But like you won't get his actual sword powers. Or like if you play as let's see, what was my example was like I don't know, Gortrek, or like you'll get his abilities, but you won't get his sword. And if you play as what was it? High Elves, yeah. Tyrion, you won't get Sunfang, but you'll get all of his other abilities, and you'll get his base abilities too. So it has its perks, but it really comes into it when you level up this tree here. So you get Guardian for Lords and Embedded Heroes, which is really good. This, that's not a really good one. Where's the one that buffs up him? I'm trying to remember. Came in Peace, no really. And then excluding Zinch units. So this is for, like, you know, he's got some weird skills in his skill tree. But I think it's yeah, it's this here. Like, I'm you but better. He gets more melee defense and attack and weapon strength while transformed. Skip the boring part. Ammunition while transformed. You know, he's got that magic spells. Red Hot Jape, which access the assumes form battle abilities. When using Formless Horror. So again, you get access to more of their abilities, and then you get more armor while transformed, and more charge bonus, more physical resistance, spell intensity, which is insane as well, and then cooldown for Formless Horror, access to assumed form spells as well, and then Vanguard deployment. So he just buffs up himself a lot more than his troops. Like, all of these don't really buff up his troops. He's got this that debuffs enemy troops, and this buffs up these types of troops. But again, it's not a significant buff, so I don't really count it. So that's why we're going to be not doing his campaign stuff, just showing you on the other way. But anywho, so that's Formless Horror. So he can basically take the form of any of them, and he can buff up that by doing this yellow line right here. On top of his traditional Zinch magic line as well. And red line and blue line, and then of course the top line here buffs up and debuffs, well, buffs up the more diplomatic approach, because he actually can form allies with other unlikely allies. Alrighty, so for his technology, he starts with Way of the Trickster, which gives him two of his special resources, cult supplies, and 10 grimoires, and then casualty replenishment rate. And then I usually go over here to get the unit boons, because they are pretty good, pretty sizable. More armor for mortal units, more defense and charge bonus, and charm attacks for screamers and cockatrices. You know, he buffs up a decent amount of troops with his technology. So they are decent buffs. But again, because it's technology and not his actual skill buffs, it's just going to apply for everyone in his faction. So it doesn't really count to me. Now, he starts with a decent army with a cockatrice, Flamers of Zinch, a Burning Chariot of Zinch, and some Zangors, a couple blue horrors. You know, he's got a decent army to start with. And then, of course, he has access to Changing of the Ways, just like all the other Zinch factions. But he's also got this button right here, Schemes. So he gets certain buffs for completing schemes all over. So, like here, he gets a Regiment of Renown for a steam tank. Here gets a Shroud. The Shroud were lifted. And then Arcane Healing, which is really good. And that's a permanent buff. These buffs stack, by the way. Veterans of Change, Recruit Rank, Bloodsucker's Bane, which is immune to vampiric attrition, Impervious Skin, 10% ward save for all characters. Like, it's insane. And then, of course, you get a special item. You attain a form most of the time. You get some cult supplies. You get another rift, which will allow you to transport anywhere around here. And then, of course, you get some special rewards, like the Empire Counts will go into Civil War. In Kislev, I think it's the Norskins will form a warband to invade either Ulthuan or Grand Cathay at your choice, which is really cool. There's a lot of thematic things that these schemes do, like Lestria Pestilence will establish a great plague upon the Lisbon of Lestria. You know, you get a Pharaoh Carnosaur Regiment of Renown. Grand Cathay, you complete it, the Kurgan Warband will breach the Great Bastion, enabling Zinchian rebels to swarm the theater. You know, it's just, there's so much you can do. It really is awesome to see. Cult of Pleasure will unleash across all of Ulthuan. That's insane. So you can just cause chaos anywhere you go by completing these schemes. Now there's just the little missions that you got to do, like kill a few armies, you know, fight a few battles, establish a few trickster cults, maybe you defeat a lord, maybe defeat a certain take a certain settlement, establish a trickster cult in a certain settlement. You know, not too challenging of a thing. So, speaking of trickster cults, we're going to attack here, just real quick. And then we can establish 2 types of trickster cults. Now, I usually go for the symbiotic because they're less likely to be discovered, but the parasitic does give you a lot more resources. So I usually go symbiotic, just because I want to get more resources. I don't want to lose trickster cults because they can be discovered. Though in my testing, it's very seldom that they actually get discovered. Especially if you do the discoverability buildings, and you can build pretty much from the ground up. There's no like tier, because it's underneath the settlement. There's no tier or anything like requirement. So you can get really insane armies early on, and that's just how Tzeentch likes to roll. So again, we'll do horrifying revelation, and then yeah. Then you can also get these types of heroes that can establish another trickster cult. And the military one is just for it starts with a military building. They're all the same types. So I usually just do symbiotic. But you can do parasitic as well. Hold on. I'm going to do a parasitic. Just so you guys can see it. I didn't have enough time. But yeah, this one is a parasitic. Because you see, it has more discoverability, but you get a whole lot more income than you do with this one. But this one's income is based off of the settlement. This one's a flat rate, and it goes all the way up. So that one usually I like to keep a little bit of parasitic ones, but coupling it with a symbiotic one to reduce the discoverability. Now you also see this icon over the Changeling. His army is now hidden. So if he's in an area that has trickster cults like this one or that one, then his army will be hidden. Now when he goes to a new area, it won't be hidden, but the trickster cult keeps it hidden wherever he is. And then let's go into the buildings. So the shrouded, so these buildings are the basic economic building, and then you have the military buildings, the advanced military right here, the regular military right here, that I usually build as well. And then you have these ones that increase the chance. This increases the chance of the trickster cult spreading. And this is your cult supplies. That increases because your cult supplies are used to upgrade. If you didn't notice, and then this is the parasitic side that occult influence prevents. Once you do this one, this is like a demonic army of rebels will spawn. This one is the settlement is plundered upon building completion, stealing wealth and damaging the owner's buildings. So it steals a whole bunch of wealth when that happens. And this is of course the diplomatic building. So there's they're decent buildings, and the Changeling has a really unique campaign that just is not like any other seen in Total War, and he just goes around causing chaos where he can, and just loving it up. He doesn't have anywhere tied down to him, and like I said, the trickster cults are hardly ever discovered. So if they are discovered, oh well, but you can go and just create another one by raiding the settlement again. So that does it for his campaign. Let's go into some battles now. Alright, and here we are for Tier 1. So even though I call it Tier 1, we get access to Tier 2 units at the start as for the Changeling, because his tier system doesn't really work like other factions. So because we get access to certain buildings, not a lot of Tier 2 units, but just a few. And I did add the ones that we start with. So the Cockatrice here, the Burning Chariot. I believe we started with a few Blue Horrors, a Zangor. I think that was in the Flamers, of course. So we have the Flamers, of course, and then I added the Screamers. So Screamers are not great, but they're decent, and you can get them from the building that the first building. So you can get them fairly early on. And of course we have our Blue Horrors, and then we have the Chariot of Tzeentch over here. Changeling is down here. There he is in all his changing glory with all his many hands. We brought an Iridescent Horror, the one he starts with, but later on we'll replace him with the legendary heroes. because they're a lot better. And then we have our Zangors up here. I've fully decked out my main line to be Zangors, because we do start with a, with being able to build a tier 2 building. So by tier 2 or by turn like 3 or 4, we'll be able to recruit these guys. So that's why I picked them. And so that's pretty much the army. So let's go into this fight against the Empire. And the Zangors have Vanguard deployment, so that gives them an advantage. Alright, let's get move our horrors up. Move these guys up. Burning Chariot's gonna go over here. Cockatrice go over here as well. And then of course we do have the Formless Horror in the Karl Franz. Because you're playing against the Empire, when you start, usually players are going to gravitate towards making the Empire their first faction to dominate or to scheme on. So that's why I picked Karl Franz for our first Formless Horror. Alright, let's get these guys in. The Cockatrice, no, down there. Yeah, there we go. That's how we do it. And then we're going to do a blue fire. Our Zangors are not doing so hot in the front lines. That's okay, we're going to turn into Franz now.
Go! See to it! Obey!
Again, he's only got a few skills, so it's not like he's got a whole bunch of skills. He's got Carl's hammer or anything, So he's not super insane, but he's still, the fact that he can, take the form of a more powerful person is is pretty overpowered. Alright. This one was over pretty easily. Though we did take a lot of casualties with the Zangors. They still are a decent unit. It was more the flamers and all that. Those special units helped us do more. Yeah, all the Zangors go up there now.
We are Sigmar's heirs!
Yeah. Oh, they all lost their ammo. Alrighty, but that does it for a tier 1. Like I said, starting with these units, you're still going to do pretty good because when you start with a trickster cult already, and then you could get another one, and then build up the barracks to get these guys, and then the other one you can use to build up the demon one to get these guys. So you're still gonna you're doing pretty well. And against an army like this, you do just fine. The Empire, easy pickings in the early game, especially against Tzeentch units that can, do things like this. So you're not going to have much issue in the early game. It's just as you get in the later game, you're going to be facing a lot more dangerous foes that are easier at defeating demons. So let's get in. Now that wraps up a tier 1. Let's get into a tier 2. Alright, and here we are with a tier 2. Some minor adjustments. Not a whole bunch, but just a few minor adjustments for him, because most of the really big dog shit is locked at tier 4 and 5. That's why I've only done a little minor adjustments, but still is a powerful army and a decent upgrade. So we've switched out our Zangors, and now we have Chaos Warriors. They say the same tier, but the Chaos Warriors are one tier up from the Zangors, so technically they're in the tier 3 spot, but because you start with a tier 2, I thought it would be it would be okay. So we have these guys. They're really, really good, and they have a lot more armor than Zangors, and they have a decent amount more melee defense and weapon strength, even though they are slower and don't have the other buffs that the Zangors have. Now, of course, we have a couple more flamers now that we have access to them. And then we have our burning chariot, our cockatrice. At this time, we've changed out our iridescent horror to get a cold Hellbrass, the new legendary hero, or one of them. He is very powerful. He comes with this wind blade bound to him, as well as this ability here, Breath of Life, which means he is a beast in combat, and he's always good to have on the team. We've changed out our blue horrors for pink horrors. They're really, really good. A big buff to buff over blue horrors. Of course, we have the Changling, and he has access to Scarbrand now, because we've done a little bit of scheming out in the wastes to get here to Cathay. So we've picked up Scarbrand, and then that's pretty much it. That's the army for this tier. We do have some Chaos Warriors with Zinch with halberds on the sides to help out with a little bit of anti-large. Alright, so let's go up in this battle against Grand Cathay. Alright. Of course, we're going to move forward.
The schemer's servants. We are the cunning. A cold Hellbrass.
Hey, Cold is going to go that way. We're going to move these guys here. Here. Oh, wait, no. Here. 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 He's gonna go target these guys. Cockatrice. Go target these guys.
Warriors of Zinch. We go in fury. In forces of change. Endless glorious madness. Obliterate these ports. Warriors of Zinch. Zinch sees all. We are the coming. Savage duty. Time to despoil.
Yeah. Already taking a lot of fire. Let's get out of there. It's a big entity. Come on. Move. Move. Alright, we're going to do some spells on these guys. Do some damage, and then we're going to turn into Scarbrand and do a whole lot more damage.
The exiled one. For Korn. Zinch pulls our strings. Blood.
Alright, let's get the flamers in. They're chasing us, the Lancers are. Alright, where's that burning chariot? Did I lose him? Wow. That's wow. I can't believe I lost him. He just disintegrated. I didn't even see him being lost. I thought he got out of there, but I guess he didn't. Yep, I don't see him down here, so he must have died. Oh well. Cathay is pretty powerful, so. Yeah. Especially now. Alright, Scarbrand, you need to do some more. A Cold, where are you? Go do some more.
Mutation is a gift. Instruments of deception.
That's the thing, the Iron Hail Gunners are doing a whole heap load of damage.
A cold Hellbrass.
Let's go take care of these Iron Hail Gunners. Don't have to worry about the Magistrate. He's not going to do much at all. Ugh. I forgot these guys have their skirmish on. Alright, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. We gotta use our big baller damage.
Eradicate them.
That's what we gotta do. We gotta use our big baller damage. I think I found out. Maybe, yeah, maybe the burning chariot was killed before I could get around. I wonder if I can find it on the ground. That's such a shame. Yeah, it's just a shame, I tell you.
Waking of command. Eviscerate them.
Yeah, Scarbrand is an insane form to have. It's doing God's work here. Even though our main army was not doing so hot. I mean, we lost the chariot just because of dumb fuckery. You know, just in the future, you know, remember to always lock your formation together so that you don't cause this dumb fuckery to happen. Let's do Scarbrand's breath. Because he does get every ability that the exiled one has. Oh, yeah, that's awesome. Alrighty, so that was a tier 2, so now we got to break out the big guns for Tzeentch for tier 3, and I can't wait to show you these new units. So let's wrap it up and go on to a tier 3 now. Alright, and finally, here we are at the good bits. So, we're tier 3. We have a few chosen. We've taken a little bit of chosen, but our line is shortened by 2 to make space for some other good Tzeentchian units. So these chosen of Tzeentch are really good. They really hold the front line. We do have a couple shrines, Chaos War Shrines of Tzeentch, to help bolster our spell intensity, which is really good to have. And then we have Exalted Flamer. Of course, we brought the Mutilate Vortex Beasts. Now, this is the Regiment of Renown version, but oh my lord, it is insane. Let's look at the regular one. The regular one is insane too. Like, look at that. It is just a Tzeentchian horror for anything, you know. It's a big-ass monster with magical damage. It's got Aura of Mutation, which does damage per second around it. The Gift of Mutation, which gives it more melee attack. And then it's got the Tides of Transformation, which again is another damage per second contact that gives disorientated around it as well. It's really, really powerful. And then supporting it, we have some Exalted Flamers, which are insane as well. We also have the Blue Scribes up here. Now these Blue Scribes are insane as well with how much magic they can deal. They have the Spell Siphon as well, that gives more spell mastery. So technically we can get up to 60% spell mastery with this army and do a whole lot more spells. In the back we have some Exalted Pink Horrors, which again, always good to have. They're really good units. And then in the back we have 2 Soul Grinders of Tzeentch, which we can get at tier 4, which is again really insane. These guys are really good to keep really big snipers, like sniping artillery, Tzeentch artillery. Then we brought a Lord of Change as well, the Regiment of Renown version. He is really good as well. He's got some golden spells, so he's going to be able to help us out a lot. And that's pretty much it for this army as well. So we're going to get into this fight against, I believe I have the Lizardmen coming after us. So this will be the final battle here. Alright. Alrighty. They have a lot of Lizardmen. So we're going to have to try to maintain the line. Let's deal with these temple guards with the vortex beasts.
Sent by darkness, as was augured. Moving.
All right, we're gonna do a.
Magic.
I'm gonna do a magic right here.
I am you.
I am you. You are me.
But here we go.
And the blue scribes are just gonna kind of move around and do little spells here and there to help out the troops, but not a whole lot. Okay, now we have Bellicor here. He's gonna deal with this Carnosaur.
Spell casting.
We'll do a Bolt of Change right here. Help this Vortex Beast deal with the Temple Guards. Alright. Oh boy, we're already losing this Vortex Beast. Yeah, it does not do good against heavy armor piercing. Yeah, it's pretty much gone. But it isn't disintegrating, which is a good plus. There's a lot of micromanage in this army,
I fly.
but
Once. Charge.
it still is a good army.
Unstoppable fate.
A lot of micromanageitis. So really, it's up to you what you want to bring. You could bring the Vortex Beasts. You could bring a lot more. I could have also attacked. Well, could have kept my guys from attacking. Let's see. We'll do the Flames of Asgore on these guys.
Shape wings.
Yeah, that'll do. That'll do really well. Yeah, there we go. It is a lot of, trial and error,
I don't know. Just do
Oh, did I even have Akehold do anything? Man, I didn't even know if I had Akehold do anything. Wow. Come on, unpause. Alright, well, could have saved a lot more Zinchian lives, I guess, but it still was fun, wasn't it? Again, a lot of micromanage going on with this, but you get access to Lord Shadows with him, so you're able to do like the pendulum and the eye, all of that. Do a lot more damage.
Wind Raid Carrier.
Alright, we still did pretty well.
Blue Scribes. The Raven's Justice. Unbridled destruction.
We'll focus on this Stegodon, get him dead.
Shadow Lord. Ledger Domain.
Do some more armor piercing damage against him.
Yes.
Alright. Every unit still technically survived, even though the Vortex Beast came very close to dying. Both of them did. Everything still survived, though, so that's good. Look at them, just retreating. Lizardmen. Yeah. Alrighty, so that will be a tier 3. Let's take another look at these Vortex Beasts. They're really, really cool looking. Oof, look at that. Just he's a good killer, but again, he's and they also have the Bringer of Arcane Glory too, so you could bring them on top. You don't even have to bring the Chaos War Shrines, but I usually bring them to just increase the spell intensity even more. Because no, they don't do it. So you do need them. Yeah, it affects them because they do spell damage. So anything that does spell damage or like magic damage is going to be affected by spell intensity. So that does it for tier 3. So now let's wrap this up now, guys. So that was my Changeling guide. I hope you guys enjoyed it just as much as I did making it. The Changeling is a very peculiar character, but his units that he brings are really cool. The Zangors kind of lose their flavor after turn like 15 or 20, and then you replace them with Chaos Warriors. But the Changeling with all his different forms always makes it so much fun. And he himself can pull a lot of victories just clutch by himself because of all the buffs he gets while transformed. So I hope you enjoyed this guide. Remember that if you like what I do, to leave a like, maybe comment down below, and maybe sub to my channel too. It always helps me out. And remember to always keep it strategic, Trap fans. Colonel out.